December 25th, 2025, Buddhadhamma 10.3, page 971. Contrasting aspects of craving and wholesome desire. Non-action as form of action. As mentioned above, people act according to their knowledge and understanding, which may simply be a level of responding to sense stimuli. Or it may develop into true wisdom, which is able to determine what is appropriate and to determine what is inappropriate. In many circumstances, however, instead of initiating action, people pause, balk, or stop short. In this case, the hesitation, the passiveness, or the inaction is a form of action. It may be a potent form of action at that, as will be explained below. Tanha, craving, initiate actions that are prerequisites for acquiring objects of gratification or prerequisites for protecting the stability of one's cherished sense of self. Here, the term actions includes non-action. There are many reasons why tanha, craving, may initiate non-action. For example, one may refrain from acting because by acting one will be deprived of some pleasure that one is currently experiencing, or because one would encounter some kind of trouble or adversity. Even in the case that acting in a particular way would bring true beneficial for one's life. Tanha, craving, may urge one to refrain from acting out of fear of hardship or deprivation. When people develop wisdom, panya, intelligence, and generate wholesome desire, chanta, wholesome enthusiasm, as the motivating force, they perform actions they recognize as appropriate and valuable, even though by acting they will face discomfort and be resisting the urge by craving to refrain from acting. Conversely, craving may prompt acting in order to obtain some pleasure. But wisdom, by discerning that such action will damage one's quality of life, will urge one to refrain. When people's wisdom increases but refined forms of craving remains, there are two qualities become intertwined and profit from one another. The behavior of wise individual is thus more complicated than that of other people. The important issue here is which factor gains the upper hand. Does craving or does wisdom direct proceedings? If one applies continual wise reflection, yoniso manasikara, wisdom takes the leading role and becomes increasingly sharper. It ushers in chanta, wholesome desire, as the driving force for directing one's life to the extent that craving ceases. Here one can see that by removing the factor of tanha, craving, from the equation, human action still proceeds. Moreover, they are enriched. Formerly, one relied on craving to help protect the sense of self. Now, wisdom guides one's life and paves the way for wholesome desire. As a consequence, one is released from the clutches of craving. Means and ends. Craving as a motivating force. When one gets to the heart of the matter, one recognizes that craving, in fact, is not genuine motivation for action. Because the act itself is not the priority for craving. As mentioned above, craving desires to consume and to acquire things that provide one with pleasure. Wholesome desire On the other hand, wishes for true completion and fulfillment of all things that which one engages. This dichotomy provides for complexity in regard to action and non-action. For example, Sarah is endowed with wholesome enthusiasm. She sees the interior of the house and wants it to be clean. She wishes for the dwelling to exist in a state of completeness. If it is dirty, she wishes it for it to be clean and picks up a broom and sweeps the floor. She derives joy and contentment both from sweeping, which is the cause for the desired results, and from witnessing a clean space, which is the direct result from sweeping. Peter has no interest or delight in cleanliness, but he does not have a sweet tooth. But he does have a sweet tooth. His mother, Mary, suggests that he helps with the chores, but he doesn't respond. Mary thus says, "If you sweep the house, I will buy you some sweets." When Peter hears this, Peter picks up the broom and sweeps. In fact, Peter does not desire cleanliness. Peter only sweeps because this action is of means by which he can get some candy. Simon derives no pleasure from sweeping. He may even find it irritating. Simon is not determined to do a good job. His mother, Mary, may need to consistently supervise him. This is because sweeping is the cause for cleaning house, which is not the result for Simon's desire. Simon's happiness will have to wait until Simon gets the sweets. To reiterate, craving does not desire the thing or state that is the direct result of an action. Craving urges actions only in the case when it is the necessary prerequisites for obtaining desired objects. If there is another way to obtain the desired objects without needing to make effort, craving will prompt one to avoid acting and choose the path of inaction instead. Craving is more often a motivation for inaction than it is for action. When craving leads to an avoidance of action, it may manifest in the form of laziness, whereby one clings to pleasurable sensations. Alternatively, it may manifest in the form of fear, false evidence appearing real, say by being afraid of encountering some form of discomfort while performing an action, or being anxious of losing self-importance. When inaction is needed for craving to get what it wants, that is, increased sensual pleasure or reinforced self-importance, craving urges such inaction without considering whether positive effects derived from acting may be forfeited. Here are some more examples. A child refuses to go to school because he knows that his mother will increase his allowance for sweets. This is clear a case of inaction being a potent form of action. A man finishes work early in order to drink alcohol and gamble. Someone receives a bribe in order to refrain from work that should be done. Out of laziness, one pays someone else to do some task that one should attend to oneself. In this case, one forfeits the satisfaction and delight that is connected to the fruits of one's own labor. Positive actions is initiated by wholesome desire, chanta, stemming from panya, wisdom, which recognizes what is truly valuable and what should be done. Wisdom rouses wholesome desire for bringing these things to completion. Even in the case when craving initiate actions, there are perils. Because the preconditions mentioned earlier established in the following equation, craving urges action out of delight for the pleasure derived from such action. The more one acts, the more pleasure one receives. The more pleasure there is, the more one desires. The more one desires, the more one acts. In many occasions, people will keep acting until the positive results of these actions are squandered. Wholesome desire, chanta, on the other hand, initiates action out of delight for the positive and wholesome effects. The more one acts, the more these positive effects increase and the more delight one experiences. The more delight one has, the more one acts. One continues acting until the goodness and integrity reaches completion. The action fully corresponds with the objective. In some, craving more often than one not urges in actions, and even when it initiates action, these actions are hazardous and lead to more harmful effects than beneficial ones. One should thus abandon craving and instead foster wisdom and cultivate the wholesome desire. Let me reiterate this or read this again. In summary, craving, tanha, more often than not, urges in action. And even when it initiates action, these actions are hazardous and lead to more harmful effects than beneficial ones. One should thus abandon craving and instead foster wisdom and cultivate wholesome desire.